This is your mama, Ben. I want to wish you a happy birthday. I thought I'd catch you on your way home. Anyway, have many more and miss you and love you and have a real neat birthday, even though it's almost over with today. Love you. This is your mama. Happy birthday again. Bye-bye.
Greetings, my fellow Fright Beans. Thanks so much for stopping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. This is a very different video than I normally do on this channel. This is one that's being dedicated to someone that meant everything to me. She was kind of like a second mom to me growing up. She was my best friend. She was my partner in loving scary movies. She actually introduced me to many of the movies that I still hold near and dear to my heart now. I'm talking about my late grandmother, and I've talked about her many times here on this channel. Her name was Berdina Marie Schindler. She was married to my grandfather, David Edward Taliaferro, so she was Berdina Taliaferro, but I knew her as Mama. And my grandmother, my mama, passed away on April 3rd. At 105 years old. She was actually 105.5. Her birthday was September 10th, 1919. So she was on her way to being 106 years old. In the last few years, her health had started to decline a little bit, as you know, one would expect, but not her mind. She still remembered so many things from her childhood, about raising her kids, my mom and my uncles, Tim and Tom, about taking care of me and my cousin Lonnie. You know, she was just an amazing woman. She was still cooking. She was still making her famous apple pies. She was still, you know, doing so many things up until the last year. In 2023, she fell on Christmas Eve and broke her wrist. And that was also the same year that her younger brother, Leo, died. Now, she was one of 9 children, and her and Leo were the last 2. He passed away in August of 2023. I actually did a tribute to him. It was actually part of my Dunsmuir House video because he actually died the day that I finally got to go and see that iconic location for many films like Phantasm, A View to a Kill, Burnt Offerings. I mean, it's been in so many great films. So I Married an Axe Murderer. That day was unlike any other. It was a beautiful day, and I just remember feeling so at peace driving there. My uncle had loved nature, and just you know, it was such a beautiful day driving there, and the fact that he passed away that day kind of just really got to me. My grandmother was also somebody that loved nature, and she also was just such an amazing woman. She was one of the only people when I was growing up that really accepted who I was. I wasn't like a lot of boys my age. I wasn't into sports, even though I tried. I was on basketball, baseball, soccer teams. Did pretty good in basketball, but I just wasn't an athlete. You know, 2 of the major influences that my grandmother passed upon me were Salem's Lot and John Carpenter's Halloween. The first part aired on the 17th of November in 1979 when I was 5 years old. And at that time, and I've talked about it before, you know, I was really into like Scooby-Doo cartoons, and I loved the holiday of Halloween. And my grandmother watched that first part. And I remember her telling my mom and I the following Saturday, which was the 24th of November when part 2 was going to air. She said, "Oh, I watched this movie last week. I watched part 1 and it really scared me, made me jump." And the scenes that she always talked about that made her jump were Ralphie getting lost in the woods and Danny Glick popping up out of the grave to bite Mike Ryerson. And, you know, those were like some of the main set pieces of that first part. And she said, "Oh, Ben, and you should watch part 2. And, to say that movie changed my life would be an understatement. I mean, that movie is everything to me, and I owe it to her. I might have discovered it later in life, but, you know, to be that impressionable of an age at 5 years old and watch that film for the first time because my grandmother thought I would like it because there was monsters in it. you know, it really did change my life. I like that picture.
Yeah. I like David Soul in that.
So that one,
oh my gosh,
that's after they kill him.
Oh, I know it. That's really nice. I like it too.
Yeah, there's that one was creepy.
Oh my god, that is creepy. Oh my god.
You know, that's funny. That's James Mason's wife.
In real life?
In real life, that was his wife.
Oh, of course, are they both dead?
They're both passed on. She got sick. I think he passed on first. And then he was a neat actor.
Yeah, they were all good at acting people.
The pictures in this are great. They even have part of the screenplay in here, so you can read. These are just like some of the shots they cut out.
Oh, those are whoever was supposed to say what.
Yeah, just like a play.
That's interesting. I didn't know you had that in that book.
Yeah, there's a good picture. That's where they're coming out of the basement. Yes.
Yeah.
And Halloween, the John Carpenter film, the main influence on her that she kind of passed on to me, and that was the late great Donald Pleasance's portrayal of Dr. Loomis.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
And something I mentioned in the eulogy that I wrote for her, that I kind of injected in there, you know, I was in a church and I was trying to be careful about what I said, and I didn't want to make it too personal. But Donald Pleasance, the Dr. Loomis character's convictions, I think, are what endeared me to him, because my grandmother was so like angry at people that wouldn't listen to him. She kept saying, I don't know why they don't listen to him. He's telling the truth about what's going on with Michael Myers and everything like that. And so I'm very protective of that character.
This is your mama wishing you a happy birthday today. I know I wished you a happy birthday the other day, but today is really your birthday. So happy birthday from your mama. Love you very much. And have many, many more. Bye-bye.
She encouraged me in so many ways. She encouraged me to take risks. My mom was very protective of me. And she was a free spirit, my grandmother was. She wasn't scared of anything. So when I started getting older and my mom still wanted me to be protected, like, you know, a rule when I was at home by myself is that I couldn't go outside and play with other kids until my mom got home, because she was a single parent. And when I stayed at my grandparents' house, you know, there was a comic book store I loved. It was about 3.5 miles away from where they were, but she would say, you know, go ride your bike up there and go get your comic books, and I'll cover if your mom calls. I'll just say you're outside or something. But she would cover for me, and she did it more than once. And then as I got older, like, one of the big things, that the first time I ever drove to San Francisco by myself, and I've talked about it in other videos, so I won't go on too long, but in 1995, the iconic actress Janet Leigh, who played Marion Crane in Psycho, was doing a book signing. And she was going to be at this book. She was going to be at this bookstore. It wasn't a Barnes & Noble or a Borders. It was kind of before that. This was in 95. I think it was called Aladdin's Books. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was called. But my grandmother said, you should go and do that. And I just remember getting so lost in the city, trying to find, you know, I knew where Union Square was, but I just couldn't, you know, there's a lot of one-way streets. You can get lost real easy if you're not familiar with driving in San Francisco. And prior to that, I was always a passenger going to San Francisco. So, but she told me to go do it, and I did. I met Janet Leigh, got her autograph. One of the greatest things that I have in my collection is because of my grandmother. I want to mention is the Bates Motel sign that you'll see up there. So I was in college, and this was in Spencer Gifts, and I had seen it. It was at Hilltop Mall, which no longer exists. I mean, it's a shell now, but It was this amazing Bates Motel sign, and I asked my grandmother if she would get it for me for Halloween. And I said I just didn't have enough money in my checking, and I said I could write a check, but I wanted to make sure I had enough money for it. And she said she would cover it. I thought it was going to be like $80. I didn't know, but it only ended up being like, because it was on Halloween, so they were trying to get everything out of the store. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was on the wall, and they took it off for me. It was like the display model, and gave it to me for like, I think $25. And it's got the same light bulbs. I haven't changed it in 30 years. I've had that since I was 21 this October. So pretty crazy that it still works. And I don't turn it on a lot because I don't want to, you know, it's kind of like a precious thing for me here in the room. So I just thought I would turn it on for this video because it really is one of the most special things that I still have in my collection. And one of the oldest things I have in my collection. It's all because of my mama.
This is your mama. We wish you a happy birthday today. I know you're 4-6. Keep going. You're doing good. I heard you got a raise. And happy birthday, many, many, many more. And hope this virus disappears one of these days. I would sing happy birthday to you, but I'm a terrible singer. So happy birthday again. Love you very much, Mama.
My favorite Bugs Bunny cartoon will always be Hide and Hair, and I'm sure people are aware of it that grew up watching the Looney Tunes like I did. And Hide and Hair is it's this cartoon where Dr. Jekyll goes to the park to feed Bugs Bunny, who it's like he just goes there. It's a routine for them, and Bugs Bunny kind of convinces him to adopt him and bring him home as a pet, not realizing that he will turn into Mr. Hyde. And so the entire episode is Dr. Jekyll taking the potion, turning into Mr. Hyde, and then keeps reverting back to Dr. Jekyll. And it's a cartoon that I would, every time it would come on, I always knew the color scheme for the Warner Brothers logo at the beginning of the cartoon. It was green. And every time it came on, every time I saw one that was green, I knew it was possibly going to be Hide and Hair. And for years, staying at my grandparents when I was a little kid, every time it came on, I'd call my grandmother. Their TV was in a separate room in the house. It wasn't in the living room, so we called it the TV room. And I would call her to come in there and watch it with me. And we would get the biggest kick out of it. In fact, even when I would bring it up to her in recent years, she would still laugh about that cartoon because it was so funny. And I have this pop set that my mom gave me some money to get back in 2017, and it's probably one of my most prized possessions. It's from that cartoon, and it's Mr. Hyde and Bugs Bunny after he drinks the Hyde formula and turns into the giant green bunny. So it's every time I look at that set, I think of my mama and I laughing at that cartoon all those years ago. Life's going to be really hard for me without her. Like I said, I was blessed to have her in my life for 51 years. And the fact that, you know, she, up until like the last year, you know, it's like she was just really having a hard time. I think, you know, my grandfather passed away in 2011, March 13th of 2011. So she was 14 years without him. And then when she lost her brother, it just sort of really, she went downhill. And then last year, her house almost burned down too. And because her sight was going and her hearing was going a little bit, and she just didn't want to be here anymore. And that was hard for me to watch, just because I knew that trapped inside this body that wasn't able to do what it used to was this beautiful spirit that I grew up with. I've mentioned her in many videos over the last almost 15 years since I started doing this channel. Life isn't going to be the same without her, and the best thing that I can do now is to go on and carry with me everything that she endeared into me, whether it was being, you know, grounded, being brave, having a sense of humor, being creative, and loving life. And I'm just going to do that for her. I want to thank everyone who sent me kind messages. It really meant a lot. It's been a very dark year so far. And I'm hopeful that as time goes on, things will get better and we can grieve and remember how much she meant to all of us. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Peace.
I was standing here thinking about you, and this is your mama to wish you a Merry Christmas. How are you doing this morning? Love you. Bye-bye.